All right, let's talk Atlanta Falcons. This is a team obviously had some ups and downs this season, but I think when they're playing good football, they can beat anybody. They've shown it. Now they just need to piece together the consistency. But to that end, it looks like the Falcons are poised to make a really smart move. A potentially massive trade appears imminent. We'll get into all that details in just 1 second. But first, I am Nick. That is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Atlanta Falcons, like most of the NFL at this point, are kind of at a bit of a crossroads, right? I think the Falcons are a good team, but the question is, can they build some momentum? And they'll have an opportunity to do it this weekend, of course. But when we talk about the long-term trajectory for the Atlanta Falcons, both in the 2025 season and in future years, they've been presented with a very interesting opportunity to cash in and generate a lot of value in the hands of a big-time trade. Let's get into the report here first, then we'll get into some interesting insights here on the other side. This report is courtesy of Falcons Wire. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler and Matt Bowen, two really good reporters. Jeremy Fowler, we talk about him all the time on this channel. He is one of the best, maybe the best. Broke down the top 25 trade candidates ahead of the deadline, and two Falcons players were listed among them. One of the players mentioned was edge rusher Arnold Ebiketie. The former second-round pick is in the final year of his contract, and the team invested heavily at the edge position in the draft. Ebiketie has had trade interest dating back to the offseason. The 2022 second-round pick is on an expiring contract, and rookies James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker are a big part of Atlanta's future at edge rusher. That's putting it mildly. They're two young superstars. The Falcons don't necessarily want to trade Ebiketie, but typically at least listen to offers when presented. And here's where the Atlanta Falcons, I think, are going to make this trade. And this is sort of just looking at the market, looking at the context, right? So let's factor in the first point here. First, the Atlanta Falcons have two young studs in Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker. I know Walker's a little banged up, but we've done film reviews on them. Both these guys are really great players. They're the future at defensive end for Atlanta for sure. They're going to be really good players for a long time. Big reason why this Falcons defense is playing really good football. Arnold Ebiketie, he's been a decent player, and he's had flashes of potential for sure, but he's never really lived up to the second-round hype or the hope that they wanted for in Atlanta. But there's a lot of teams that really like him because he's still a good, solid football player, and that gives the Falcons a good opportunity because right now there is a huge amount of demand for edge rusher in terms of the trade market and almost no supply. No one's willing to get rid of their trade rushers. Nobody is. Everyone's holding on to them, which means I think the Atlanta Falcons can pull off an incredible steal of a trade here. I really think they can get a lot for Ebiketie. And I'm not just saying that. If you look at the marketplace and look at reporting, everyone is looking for these edge rushers. Let's go ahead and pull up our next graphic, if you don't mind, Mize. This is courtesy of the Go Birds News, which is the Philadelphia Eagles blog site on Twitter. They posted, this was a few days ago now, the Eagles have interest in trading for Bengals pass rusher Trey Hendrickson per Tony Pauline. The Colts, 49ers, and Cowboys also have interest. The Eagles are in the edge rusher and cornerback market, and we are 3 weeks away from the trade deadline. Obviously, we're a little less than 2 weeks away now because this report is a few days old, obviously. But here we're seeing the demand, right? The Eagles, the Colts, the Cowboys, the 49ers, all looking for edge rushers. The Bengals have said, not interested. We don't want to trade Hendrickson, right? So we're seeing not a lot of supply there, a lot of demand. Let's go into our next graphic. This is actually per an ESPN article right here that we pulled from Jeremy Fowler a few days ago, talking again about demand for edge rushers. Fowler wrote, the 49ers have been scanning the trade market for pass rush options. I'm told the Niners consider Trey Hendrickson an ideal fit for their defense if the Bengals would part for him for reasonable compensation. But I'm also told Cincinnati has no plans to trade Hendrickson at the time. So despite a 2-4 record, Cincinnati plans to remain all in on the season, and the offense shows signs of life with Joe Flacco on Sunday in Green Bay. This is obviously prior to the Bengals beating the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the point still is here made, right? That there's a lot of demand for defensive ends, Hendrickson in this case, and no supply. The Bengals don't want to trade him. We want our guy. We want to hold on to him. All right, so we're seeing corroborating evidence here. We're not just seeing anecdotal reports. When you factor everything together, it's clear people are looking for edge rushers, and no one is willing to part with them. And finally, our final graphic here, just to put a bow on this topic, this is courtesy of Tom Pelissero. The Raiders met with star defensive end Max Crosby today to let him know they aren't shopping him and won't trade him, sources tell me in Slater NFL. While other teams are interested, there have been a lot of rumors linking a handful of teams to Crosby. The Raiders aren't interested in moving their best player, and Crosby wants to stay in Las Vegas. All right, so what does all this tell you guys? What's the factor here? Is that there is an incredible amount of demand and no supply. And guess who has supply? The Atlanta Falcons. And this is why they have an incredible opportunity in front of them, where they can flip Arnold Ebiketie and get a desperate team. The 49ers, the Colts, maybe the Eagles, right? team that's, we just need one pass rusher. We need another pass rusher. I mean, listen, the Philadelphia Eagles just pulled Brandon Graham out of retirement because they're so desperate at pass rusher, right? They're desperate for more guys, right? There is nothing but demand for edge rusher right now in the National Football League, and no one is willing to part with it, right? It's across the board. There are other teams not even listed here in the articles that I've cited that have been reportedly have interested in edge rushers, guys that are contenders or pseudo contenders that feel like they need a quality edge rusher. And right now the Falcons got the perfect piece. Ebiketie's cheap, end of an expiring contract. They could flip him for a lot. And I expect Harry Fontenot and company to make this deal. And I actually think it's probably pretty close. Because if you look at this team and you look at James Pierce Jr., you look at Jalen Walker, and those two guys specifically, right, you sit there and say, this is the future. And now they've played a lot of snaps, but they haven't been playing as much snaps as they could have. Because you have a guy like Ebiketie, you're going to play him. But if you trade Ebiketie, you get draft capital or other capital in general. Now you get to unleash Walker and James Pierce Jr. full time. And I know Walker's a little banged up, but we're talking the rest of the season and the long term as well. When you have two young studs, let's get them more reps. Let's get them more playing time. And if you look at the snap counts, generally speaking, they're going up for the rookies. They're not going down. I think Arnold Ebiketie's time is actually coming to an end in Atlanta in terms of playing time over the course of the season. And right now, there's more demand for Ebiketie's skill set than ever. I think the Falcons trade him soon, and I think they get a lot of value in return. He's the perfect piece to move, and this is a great opportunity for Atlanta. All right, Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this. But first, let's take a second here to hear from the sponsor of today's video. I wanted to take a minute in today's video to talk about something that's really important to me, guys, and that is food. Look, we all know, of course, we all have family obligations, right? You're never going to sacrifice family. You got work stuff, right? Got to make money somehow. And for darn sure, at least I know you guys probably feel the same way, not skimping out on any football. Going to watch the games, of course. But where does that leave enough time to prepare tasty meals to fill us up and get the calories, proteins, and all that stuff we need to fulfill our active lifestyles? At least I know in my case, right? I got a young daughter at home. I'm trying to stay fit. I'm trying to, move around as best I can. But my wife and I, we're running around with our hair on fire half the time while also doing our work stuff, other family stuff, the football stuff, right? I mean, is there enough time to sit and prepare and eat a bunch of meals? Of course not. And that's the case with a lot of people these days. Everyone's got busy lifestyles. That's where snacks come in. And look, I know a lot of people, snacks traditionally aren't the tastiest thing. They don't really hit the good calorie protein requirements that I know a lot of us are going for. And that's why I'm excited to talk about our sponsor today, and that is Chomps. And I got one of their meat sticks right here, guys. I tell you what, I know a lot of people say meat stick. Is it tasty? My opinion, this stuff is delicious. I love their barbecue flavors, but the best part, in my opinion, 100 calories. We're talking 10 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar. So it checks all the boxes I'm looking for in terms of nutrient requirements, again, to just fit into my active lifestyle. Chomps is one of those things that, I wish I'd known about it before because it's such a tasty snack. And once you start eating them, guys, you won't stop. I've never been a meat stick kind of guy until I tried Chomps. These things are off the chain. And here's the best part, guys. If you go to chomps.com/SMI, again, link in the description box below, you'll get 15% off your next order. Big discount there. We're talking tasty snacks, 100 calories, 10 grams of protein. I love it. You got to try it if you haven't already. Go to chomps.com/SMI to get your 15% discount today. All right, Miles, let me throw it over to you now. I think the Falcons are about to make this massive trade, but I want to hear your thoughts on Atlanta, this trade opportunity, just everything in front of the Falcons right now.
Yeah, Nick, I think when you look at Atlanta and the Falcons, I think the most important part is what you alluded to. The Falcons got two young guys. They really were lucky and able to hit out of the park with you got Pierce Jr. as well as Walker, just looking really, really nice. And then on top of that, they've got some other guys on this roster. They got Leonard Floyd, who I guess is serviceable. So they've got depth. They've got enough guys in that category in the pass rush department. So to take Ebiketie and say, hey, this is a guy, his stock, he didn't really pan out to be exactly what we want to be, but he's still young enough. He's still got that allure of being a second round type of guy. There's some potential there. So there's some value that other teams would be like, Atlanta Falcons not known for being, the pass rush developers of the world. Let's see if we can do something. I think there's still some mystique around Ebiketie as far as what he is capable of. Teams are going to want to go and give him a shot. So I think his value with the demand in the market is at an all-time high. Like you brought up, all the teams shopping for pass rushers right now. And I think the Falcons are in a really good place because if we're being realistic about where Atlanta is positioned, anything can happen. There's a lot of football left to play. But when I look at this division, the Panthers somehow are playing some of the best football they have in a while. And Rico Dowdle figured out how to run the ball at an incredible rate now. They're on a 3-game winning streak. So the Panthers squarely ahead of the Falcons by a game right now. The Buccaneers at the top of this division. The Buccaneers look very feisty with Baker Mayfield at the helm. They're looking really difficult to beat. So that leaves the Falcons in third place. They're definitely going to be above the Saints. No one's as bad as the Saints in this division, but the Falcons are positioned to. Are they going to make the playoffs? It's possible, but they're pretty far back as far as being able to make it. I don't think third place in this division is going to be making it into the playoffs. I don't even know if second place in this division will be making the playoffs. So that's something you need to look at is, okay, we can move off of a guy like Ebiketie, lean on our younger guys and some of our veteran depth, develop them, and get ready for the coming season. Let's get some draft capital. Let's get what we can while we can, because Ebiketie's not in your long-term plans when you've got guys like James Pierce Jr. and Walker just, out in the field doing really, really good stuff. So I think that this is the perfect opportunity for the Falcons. Like you said, the market is ripe. People want to go out and get pass rushers, and they have an abundance of them. They have the stock to move. Whenever you're the team that has a stock to move, you can kind of name your price. And with teams that are this injured that are wanting to make playoff pushes, they'll most likely come and name that price for you. And I think there's a couple of other interesting things about Ebiketie's game as far as, his selling points. I think one thing that he does really well, obviously, he's a decent pass rusher. He's been doing better at playing the run the last couple of games. Had his best game this season so far last week versus the 49ers. So that's a selling point you have. He played some great football versus the 49ers, put some stuff on tape. They look at him, say, okay, this guy not too bad. Actually was one of the few games he started this season was against the 49ers. So I think that's something to take into account. But also, surprisingly so, minimal snaps here. We're talking like he doesn't drop into coverage every single play, but 13 coverage snaps for Ebiketie. He's graded out as the number 4 edge rusher in coverage in the NFL right now. So he can drop back into coverage. He's done a pretty decent job as well. So that's something of value there with him as well as a guy, if you need him to drop back, does a pretty decent job so far. So I think there's value there with Ebiketie. There's that allure of him being a second-round pick. He has the physical attributes. He's put the play on in college. You've seen him have sparks in the NFL. I think there's going to be a team that wants to go out and test the waters with him. And I think, like you said, the market is ripe. This is the perfect time. The Falcons can comfortably move off of Ebiketie and this team be good going forward. I think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of what team is going to offer them the highest price for this player.
And the Falcons are telling you that they're phasing out Ebiketie, and I think it's less an Ebiketie story and more of a Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr. story. So I pulled up the numbers here just to make sure I got them right. Is that in the first 3 games for Atlanta, Ebiketie got 31 pass rush snaps, right? So again, this is a guy that, he's played a lot of pass rush opportunities, but just last week, he got a total of 6 pass rush snaps, right? So again, we're talking about a guy that's used to playing double-digit pass rush snaps on a regular basis. Going back to last year, he was playing 20, 25 a game pass rush situations. Last week, 6, right? Teams will tell you who they prefer. Teams will tell you what direction they want to go in. And right now, and it makes sense, the Falcons are going in the James Pierce Jr., Jalen Walker, Leonard Floyd direction, not the Arnold Ebiketie direction. And not that Ebiketie, like you said, it's not like he's terrible. He's a good, solid player. He's, not lived up to the hope that a lot of people had, but he's still more than respectable. He's certainly good enough to move around. And right now, the Falcons, they're going to play him less and less and less, certainly once Walker gets healthy. And listen, at this point, why not trade him? You'll get something in return. I think they will. I mean, there's essentially no other edge rusher that I can think of that actually is competent enough, that's available, that some team would give up something of value for. I think the Falcons make this trade, and I think it would be a really smart move for him. I think before the deadline, he will be one of the biggest names to move, and the Falcons would be smart to do so.